Snowflake was an albino western lowland gorilla. He was a celebrity at the Barcelona Zoo in Spain where he lived from 1966 until his death. History: Snowflake was captured in the Rio Muni region in Equatorial Guinea on October 1, 1966 by Benita Moore ± a copyright, an ethnic Fang farmer. Moore ± a copyright had killed the rest of Snowflake's gorilla group. Moore ± a copyright then kept Snowflake at his home for 4 days before transporting him to Barta, where he was purchased by primatologist Jordi Sabata Pi. Originally named Nfum Yungayan Fang language by his captor, he was then nicknamed Flocket Anu by his keeper Jordi Sabata Pi. Characteristics: Snowflake was a western lowland gorilla with non-syndromic oculocutaneous albinism. Snowflake had unpigmented skin and hair. Snowflake had poor vision, which is associated with albinism. A tester tried to determine whether Snowflake had a central blind spot did not find one. Barcelona Zoo director Antonio Junch wrote, "The eye had a bluish sclera, a normal cornea, and a light blue iris which was very transparent to transillumination. Accommodation and refraction were normal. The media were transparent and the fundus of the eye normal and totally depigmented. The choroidal vessels were perfectly visible and the pupil was normal. The animal displayed marked photophobia which caused it to close its eyes repeatedly when exposed to bright light. In diffuse light similar to that in its biotope, we calculated that it blinked on an average of 20 times a minute. Study of Snowflake's genome determined that his parents had 12% of their DNA in common, leading researchers to believe that his parents were uncle and niece. The same study revealed that his albinism was caused by a mutation of SLC45A2 gene. Snowflake received the recessive gene from both parents, causing his albinism. Life in Barcelona. Upon his arrival to Barcelona in November 1966, he was given an official reception by the then mayor of Barcelona, Josep Maria de Porcels, and called Blanca Nieves in the newspaper Tele Exprar copyright S. But he became famous with the name given to him by Sabata when National Geographic magazine featured him on the cover in March 1967, with the English name Snowflake. This name spread among the press. Sabata himself called the gorilla Kopi, or Flocket, and in the later years Nfumu. He was also known as Little Buttercup, and as the Vanilla Gorilla. At first, the Barcelona Zoo was not aware that Snowflake was a unique specimen. They sent a message to Sabata Pi saying, "Please send more white gorillas." The zoo later hoped to produce a genetic strain and an entire family group of white gorillas through selective breeding. The Barcelona Zoo had a protocol in place to have Snowflake's testicles harvested, upon his death, and placed in the frozen zoo so as to reserve the option of having more offspring from him in the future. Snowflake's genes would have been considered particularly valuable because he was wild-caught, and therefore one of the genetic founders to the captive population of western lowland gorillas, which are endangered, and are being managed by AZASSPEEP captive breeding programs for wildlife conservation. In 1986 the Barcelona Zoo enlisted British zoo veterinarian David Taylor to collect sperm from Snowflake for artificial insemination. Although the attempt was unsuccessful, the story was carried by newspapers the world over. Offspring Snowflake fathered 22 offspring by 3 different mates, or dams. 6 of his offspring survived to adulthood. None of Snowflake's offspring were albino, but all should be heterozygous, recessive carriers, for the albino gene. His grandchildren have 50% mathematical probability for carrying the albino gene. If both parents were albino gene carriers they have 25% chance of producing an albino offspring. As of May 2014, Snowflake has a total of 21 grandchildren and 4 great-grandchildren. Snowflake's great-grandson Anka has pink fingers, which is perhaps suggestive of partial albinism. Death: in 2001, Snowflake was diagnosed with an unusual form of skin cancer, almost certainly related to his albinism condition. By 2003, Snowflake's health began to deteriorate. After he began losing interest in his usual activities, began isolating himself from other gorillas and began exhibiting signs of physical pain, Snowflake's keepers decided to euthanize him. The decision was publicly announced in September 2003. Thousands of people visited Snowflake at the Barcelona Zoo before he was euthanized on November 24, 2003. At the time of his death, Snowflake was thought to be between 38 and 40 years old. Legacy. The asteroid 95962 Copito, discovered by Spanish astronomer J. Manteca, is named in his honor. A scholarship for research on primatology was created in memory of and homage to Snowflake. Snowflake's fame also helped to promote awareness of the endangered gorilla species. The gorilla became a main character in the novel Mamà Squared Rise den Flocit de Neu by Catalan writer Toni Sala. Sabata Pai also dedicated a book to the gorilla, under the title Copito para siempre. He also makes a brief appearance in Italo Calvino's novel Mr. Palomar. Nature on PBS devoted an episode to him. Former U.S. poet laureate Billy Collins wrote of Snowflake in his poem, Searching, published in his 2008 collection, Ballistics. Snowflake appears on the front cover of dance music act Basement Jork's album Ruti. While playing at FC Barcelona, Dutch football player Ronald Koeman was nicknamed Copito de Neu because of his blonde hair. Snowflake appeared on the Triplets episode The Triplets Meet King Kong as a guest of honor for the appearance of King Kong in Barcelona's Olympic Stadium. In 2009, French musician Enzo released the album Toutim, where the song Copito de Neu de Barcelona is dedicated to Snowflake. In 2011, there was a live-action CGI film called Snowflake, the White Gorilla, that depicts the fictional childhood of Snowflake. References. Further reading, Ryopel, A.J., Snowflake, the World's First White Gorilla, National Geographic 131 442-8, March 1967, Unique in All Gorilladom, Roman Luaracabo Snowflake, Life 6269-70, March 31, 1967, Ryopel, A.J., Growing Up with Snowflake, National Geographic 138 490-503, October 1970, Junch, Antonio, The White Gorilla at Barcelona Zoo, International Zoo Yearbook Vol. 13, 1967, pg. 196, Schmeck, Harold M.J.R., First known white gorilla is found, The New York Times F23 pgs. 15 and 41-2, Rare albino gorilla dies, The Montreal Gazette, November 25, 2003, pg. A21, Juritzen, Vivienne Bailey Snowy Stardom. Protein Spotlight, http, www.pbs Ornither Snowflake Nature episode, Snowflake, The White Gorilla at pbs.org.